In this next section, we're going to continue modifying views, but with another views hook to modify the query. So this is if we want to change the type of content that gets pulled in, or change the order, or change some of the fields that get pulled in as well. So I'm going to jump over to our blog override module here. And in the steps folder, let's go ahead and open up the 5th step. And we're going to copy all of this just like we have our previous steps and paste it over all of the code that's currently in the blog override module and save it. Now this includes all the code we've worked up to till this point, and our new code is right here in the blog override views query alter function. This is an implementation of hook views query alter, and in comparison with some of our previous examples, this looks pretty straightforward. Now if you've watched some of the videos on the Drupal 7 database layer, then this will look very familiar to you. We're simply modifying the query object here that contains the same properties as a query object anytime we're working with that database layer. Now this function takes 2 parameters, the view, which contains various information about the view, and the query. And notice the ampersand before each of these variables, which means that we can modify them and have the changes persist. So we're just changing the order by property in the query object, and we're looking at the first item here, and we're changing the direction to ascending rather than descending. So by default, the blog is ordering by date in descending order, and we're just going to shift that to do ascending order. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the browser, and I'm going to refresh the page. And we don't see the order changing here, so let's go ahead and go to Configuration. We need to clear the cache, Performance, and then clear all caches. Let's go ahead and exit out of the overlay. And when this page is refreshed, we'll see that the order of content has been reversed. So we now see our other blog post. One other thing we could modify here, I'm going to jump back to the code, and I'm going to uncomment out this. And what this does is change one of the where properties so that instead of loading blog posts, we load page type nodes. Let's go ahead and save this and jump back to the browser, and let's clear the cache again. And then I'll close the overlay here. And now we see only one item showing here, no pager, because there's only one page in this site. Okay, I'm going to jump back to the code, and let's go ahead and take a quick look at this query object. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here for the debugger, and then I'm going to jump back to the browser. And let's go ahead and navigate to clear the cache one more time to load these changes in. I'm going to start a debugging session and click clear all caches. Okay, and now I'm going to navigate back to the page by closing the overlay. And now I'm going to jump back to the IDE, and we're here stopped in our alter function. So we can take a look at the query here, and let's just look at a couple of these items that we're altering. So we're looking at the where property of the query object. Let's go ahead and expand this. It looks like there's only one item here. Let's open up the conditions. There's a couple of conditions, and we're altering the condition with the key of 1. So let's go ahead and expand that and expand the value here. Okay, so the field is node type, and the value that we're checking against is blog entry, and we're changing this to page. So as you can see, there are some other aspects to modify here. We can change the type from and to or, for example. We can add new conditions or remove conditions. So for example, this other condition is to check node status, which is if the node has been published. And right now it's checking for a value of 1. But if we wanted to show even unpublished items, we could just remove this condition altogether. Let's take a look at this order by one. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and collapse the where options here. And here's order by. We only have one item in there. And it's field, node created, direction, descending. So if you're familiar with creating SQL queries, then a lot of this is going to look very familiar, and manipulating this will be fairly easy for you. And just like in the previous example where we checked the display, we have the view object here, which we can use to check for the current display or any other properties within that view in order to trigger any changes in the query. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the debugging session here.